Good to see you guys. Hey, I'm pumped that next week is Easter. Like as a church, we have an invite culture here because we always want to be introducing people to Jesus. That's why we always want to be inviting people. And on Easter, man, almost anybody will come to church if they get a personal invitation to go with somebody else. So this week, let me just ask you, like, who are you inviting? Like, be inviting people this week. Next week, we're going to have 4 services. We're going to have one on Saturday at 4 o'clock, and then we're going to have 3 on Sunday morning. If you call LifeBridge home and you are not serving on Easter, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to sign up and serve on Easter. You can scan the QR code to sign up, or you can go stop by info in the lobby, ask any questions that you have. As of this past Thursday, just a few days ago, on Thursday, we still had 497 serving spots unfilled. So you're needed. Like we're all needed. It takes all of us to do this every single weekend, but even more so on Christmas and Easter because we have more services. We have a lot more people here. So if you call LifeBridge home, here's what would be really helpful. Go to Saturday night and then come back and serve on Sunday. Or serve on Sunday, like go to one service on Sunday and then serve at another, or 2 if you would. That would be incredibly helpful. You can sign up with that QR code or at info in the lobby. Or maybe your next step is baptism. Like maybe that's where you're at. If you have said yes to Jesus, if you're saying, you know what, I believe that Jesus is the Son of God, that he did die for my sin to pay for it, that he did rise from the dead, and now I want to follow him as my Lord and Savior. If that's you, baptism is your next step, which is pretty incredible. It's awesome. Baptism is a gift that we get to participate in. Also, Jesus said, hey, I want you to do this if you believe in me. It's a picture of you dying to yourself, being buried with Christ. That's why we go under the water, and then being resurrected as a new creation. The New Testament says then we get to walk in newness of life. It's an incredible thing that we get to do, and Jesus says, hey, man, I want you to do this if you're following me. So if that's you, if that's your next step, Easter's a pretty awesome day to get baptized. So there's a link on the screen that you can click to get more information, or stop by info in the lobby afterwards. Ask any question that you have. There's no questions off the table. Go to info. We want to help you get set up. We'll take care of you so that you're ready to go for next weekend. There are already people that are planning on getting baptized next weekend, which is awesome. And there will be people that show up next weekend not planning on being baptized, and they're going to go home wet, which is going to be awesome. It's going to be incredible. That's next week. But this week, we are ending part 1 of this series that we've called The Peaks of Paradox. We're going to start part 2 in a few weeks. This series is really walking through Jesus' most famous message, which is the Sermon on the Mount. It's famous because of the simple and profound truth that Jesus lays out. It was completely countercultural when he said it. What's crazy is it's also still completely countercultural now. But the most important part of a famous message is not its fame. The most important part is not the delivery or the beautiful language or the historical significance. It's not even the truth that it clarifies. But the most important part of an iconic message, what gives it magnitude, is something totally different. Fame does not give an iconic message magnitude. Like the Declaration of Independence. The beautiful language in the Declaration of Independence is not why it's iconic. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, which among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Beautiful language. You read through the Declaration of Independence, it's like, wow, I feel dumb. I don't talk like that. That's incredible. But that's not why it's iconic. The same thing is true about Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. What makes it iconic is not his powerful delivery. It's not the historical significance. I have a dream that's rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will grow up in a nation that does not judge them by the color of their skin, but by what? The content of their character. Incredible. But it's not the beautiful language. It's not the historical significance. What gives those iconic messages their magnitude is that they are an invitation to live differently. That's exactly what the Sermon on the Mount is. It is an invitation for you to live differently. And I think we probably should take Jesus up on that invitation. Like, I don't know about you, but the way things are going in the world and how we're living, maybe we need to live differently. And part of this invitation to live differently that Jesus lays out, part of it, he says, hey, if you want to be seen, you actually have to be hidden. He says this in Matthew 6:1, beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them, for then you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Like, everybody wants to be seen. Like, you want to be seen, I want to be seen. We all want to be seen. There's something good about that. That's wired into us. But at what level? Like, even for someone who would say, I'm an extreme introvert and I want to be invisible. No, you still want to be seen in the way that people know that you exist. We all want that, and that's good. But this desire to be seen, is it driving you? Is the thought process, hey, the more I'm seen, that means the more important I actually am. Or the more I'm seen, that means I matter that much more. I'm validated. The more I'm seen, then I have actual value. What Jesus is saying is, wait, hold up. That thought process is a trap. That will enslave you without you even realizing it. Instead, if you want to be seen, that's great, but don't go looking for it. And then be honest with yourself about who you really want to be seen by. People are not the only audience. Do you want to be seen by people, or do you want to be seen by God? Which one comes first? Which one's your priority? And then Jesus gives 3 different examples of this. Here's his last example. It's Matthew 6:16. And when you fast, don't make it obvious, as the hypocrites do, for they try to look miserable so people would admire them for fasting. I tell you the truth, that's the only reward that they will ever get. But when you fast, comb your hair, wash your face. No one will notice that you're fasting except your Father who knows what you do in private. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. So why bring up fasting? Well, first of all, he calls out what not to do. The hypocrites, the actors that were pretending to be something that they were not, they were using fasting as a way to get this. Wow, look at them. I hate to say this, but they look terrible. Like they must be doing a pretty intense fast. They are so much holier than I am. Jesus, do you see what they're doing? Wow, look how impressive they are. And Jesus is saying, what, those people over there? You think that they're righteous? You think they're spiritually mature? The people that you can tell are fasting? Yeah, they're frauds. I mean, that's my interpretation of Jesus. Jesus didn't call them a fraud, but that's the words I'm using. He's like, they're a fraud. Don't try to be like them. Not at all. Now, fasting might not be a common topic of discussion. So let me just go ahead and, I don't want to assume that we all know what it is and what its purpose is. Biblically, fasting is abstaining from food for spiritual purposes. Not for a diet, not for exercise, not to look better, not to get ready for bathing suit season, not any of that. It's abstaining for food just for spiritual purposes. At its core, the purpose of fasting is to cause you to remember and create a dependence on God. That's what it is. Deuteronomy 8:3 says, man does not live on bread alone, but he lives on every word that comes from the mouth of God. And Jesus actually quotes that exact verse when he's in the middle of a 40-day fast, and then he gets tempted by Satan. Like, Satan tries to get Jesus to use his own power for himself to take care of his own hunger. Satan's like, hey, Jesus, nobody's around? No, that's fine. Like, those rocks over there, why don't you just take those rocks, make them into bread? Like, it's fine. You're just hungry. Don't worry about it. Just use your power for that. What he's doing, he's tempting Jesus to use his power from himself. He's tempting Jesus to use his power for self-dependence, which sounds like a good thing. Self-dependence, what's wrong with that? Like, I don't want to be a mooch. There is a lot of virtue in having a great work ethic. There's virtue in that. There's virtue in being able to provide for other people. There's so much scripture that actually reinforces that. But what can happen is that self-dependence can turn into self-indulgence, and self-indulgence can absolutely turn into self-pride. Yes, you and I are meant to work hard. We're called to have a work ethic, being part of our character. But at the same time, you and I are also called to be dependent on God. A great work ethic, providing for others, and being dependent on God, those two things are not exclusive to each other at all. What fasting will do is, fasting says, okay, this thing that I have to have in order to live, food. Well, I'm supposed to rely on God and His Word even more than food. The spiritual discipline of fasting teaches dependence on God. Now, can I tell you what I've learned the hard way? It is so much better to depend on God than depend on myself. I've had to learn that the hard way many times over the years. And I've also missed out on joy that goes along with it. I mean, for me, a big reason that I have depended on myself instead of God has been my own pride. I got this, I don't need help, I got it. Or another reason has been lack of trust. Because honestly, sometimes it's a lot easier to trust yourself than it is to trust God. But hear me on this, and please learn from my mistakes, because I have paid the stupid tax for you. It is so much better to trust God than yourself. So much better, especially when it might be a scary situation. Fasting has a way of building that trust. And the reason it does is because whenever you're fasting, let's just get really practical for a second. When you fast, when you're hungry, instead of spending that time to eat, you spend that time praying. It's leaning into the Lord. So what fasting does is when you're hungry, that should be a signal, I need to go to the Lord in prayer, because I don't live on bread alone, I live on God's Word. I'm going to spend time with Him in prayer. It creates this deeper connection with God. All of the spiritual disciplines are meant to grow you and create a deeper connection between you and God. All of them are. And what's really cool is that spiritual disciplines will actually turn into delights. Like the longer you do practice certain spiritual disciplines, and when you do it consistently, they will stop feeling like a discipline. They'll actually be a delight to you, which is pretty cool. Now, fasting is not an equation that you do to get what you want. If I do this, then I'm going to get this from God. I'm going to get blessings and rewards. That is not what fasting is. It is not about any of the spiritual disciplines. It's not about getting something from Him. It's about getting more of Him. Creates connection. And when you do this, when you're fasting this connection, it will also reveal what's going on in you. Like if you really want to know what's going on in you, my fasting will do that. Whether if there's sin going on in you, if it's self-dependence, or here's what I've learned over the years. Do you know who lies to me more than anybody else does? Me, yes, myself. I lie to me more than anybody else ever does, and so do you. Like you lie to you more than anyone else does for all kinds of reasons. Fasting has this way of actually revealing to you, man, where you're actually lying to yourself. And the reason it's able to do that, the reason it can reveal that kind of stuff to you is because when you fast, you're dependent on God. He wants you to be free. Jesus said the truth will set you free. Free from whatever's going on in you, whatever's controlling you, whether that's sin or a lie that you've told yourself or self-dependence, whatever it is. When you fast, when you're depending on God, God will graciously come alongside you and point out to whatever it is that's controlling you. He will do that over and over again because He wants you to be free. The freedom that all of us want, it actually exists. It really does. Even if you're telling yourself, well, I don't need it, I am free. But deep down you know that you're not. Maybe it's like hey, I'm living this lifestyle where I'm free to do whatever I want, and look, I'm exercising that right. See, I'm free. But maybe even that thought process is actually what's controlling you. What's controlling you is this idea that I can do whatever I want. I'm free to do whatever I want. There's no freedom there. Hear me on this. Here's the truth. Dependence on God is the starting point of freedom. The freedom that you want, the freedom that I want, the freedom that we're meant to experience, dependence on God is the starting point of that freedom. But if you make life about you, you're going to miss out on that freedom. And I know that's counterintuitive. It's absolutely countercultural. I've told you this before, and I'm going to say this again and again and again because we all need to be reminded of this. I need to remind myself of this. The more you make this life about you, the more miserable you're going to be. The more you make life about you, the more miserable you're going to be. The hypocrites, the ones Jesus is talking about, they were all about themselves. They made everything about themselves. They even made, for all things, they made fasting about themselves. Instead of a spiritual discipline that's meant to connect and create a deeper dependence on God, these guys decided to use it as self-promotion. Yeah, this spiritual discipline that's meant to connect us to God, to create a deeper connection, a discipline that we know is meant to be done in secret, let's promote ourselves with it. The thought process they had, and this is still alive and well today, this thought process still exists today. The thought is, hey, if I promote myself, promotion gets attention, and attention gets admiration, admiration gets validation, and then validation means valuation. That's what they thought. Well, not only is this type of self-promotion not good, on top of that, theirs was completely fake. It's completely fake. They changed the way they look so that people would notice them. These guys literally would change the way they look. They would disfigure their faces so that you would know they were fasting, and when you would see them, you would say, wow. Super impressive. I can't believe they look terrible, and I feel bad saying that, but I want to give them a hug. They're doing this really intense fast. Look how righteous he is. Look how spiritually mature she is. I wish I could be like him. I wish I could be like her. They're so impressive. That's what they were after. Remember what the word hypocrite originally meant. The etymology of hypocrite meant an actor wearing a mask to disguise a role he was playing. It's exactly what they were doing. They were literally changing the way they look so that people would see them. They're wearing a mask. But here's the truth. If you have to change the way you look, if you have to change what you say or what you don't say, if you have to change what you do or don't do, if you have to change even what you believe in certain circles, because, man, that's a popular one today. Well, the world doesn't think very kindly of this belief that I hold with my faith. Well, I'm going to change the way I believe. I'm going to change what I believe. Or at least I'm not going to talk about it there. Or the world or my friend group does not like this about Jesus or about Christianity. Well, I'm going to change what I believe there. If you're changing anything about yourself so that you are seen by others in a favorable light, that's a mask. You're being an actor. And nobody is going to see you. They're just going to see a manufactured version of you. That's an actor. Like, don't go through life being an actor. People will never know you. They will just know a character that you are trying to play. And that's tragic to me. To only be known through all of your life as a character. Don't try to look like something that you're not. Don't try to manipulate your faith so that it's more acceptable to other people, or look a certain way that fits that group of people or this mindset or this narrative over here. Don't do that. Or using good things to prop yourself up, like fasting, using something like that to prop yourself up, that's always a sign of false religion. It's hypocrisy. And the world is turned off by that. Don't try to look like someone who is righteous. Be someone who is. Don't try to look like a Christian. Be one. Christianity is a horrible hobby. Like, I'm just telling you, it's a horrible, horrible hobby. If you're looking for a hobby, this is lame if you're using this as a hobby. You could use your time so much better on Sunday morning. Man, go hiking, play golf, go skiing, get in a book club. Like, this is a horrible, horrible hobby. If you use your faith or Sunday mornings as a hobby or a life accessory, if Christianity is a life accessory, one day you are going to be sorely, sorely disappointed. And I'm trying to warn you, one day you're going to end up in the spot you never wanted to be or never thought you would be. Jesus actually talks about that towards the end of the Sermon on the Mount. Don't pretend. But the person who is not pretending, the person who is actually being, who's living out this invitation to live differently, man, there is so much purpose and meaning in that. That's where life is to the full. There is peace and joy that goes beyond all understanding. There are rewards that we could never even imagine. But for the actor, the person who's trying to play Christian, man, that's the most self-deceiving thing you could ever do. Don't play Christian. What Jesus is saying is that self-promotion, that's actually self-deception. And you're gonna have to wrestle with this. You're gonna have to wrestle with this. Because we live in a culture that is a self-promotion culture. Is it not? Like if you don't promote yourself, who's going to? If you don't promote yourself, who's gonna see you? If you don't promote yourself, make much of you, well then you're gonna miss out on opportunities, you're gonna miss out on influence, and honestly, you're probably gonna be forgotten. Even while you're here, nobody's gonna know that you exist. In our culture, value is attached to the level of influence and affluence you have, how much talent you possess, and what you've accomplished. That determines your value in our culture. And if that's what determines your value, you have to be seen to have value. If that's what determines your value, how can you not self-promote? Do people know your name? Do people know how much talent you possess? Do people know how much you've accomplished? 2025 American culture would translate Romans 10:14 like this. How are they going to admire and value you if they don't know who you are? And if they don't know how are they going to know who you are if they've never heard about you? And how are they going to hear about you if you don't self-promote? That's the 2025 American culture translation of Romans 10:14. It's make it about you. But here's what Romans 10:14 actually says. But how can they call on him, not me? How can they call on him to save them unless they believed in him? Not believe in me, believe in him. And how can they believe in him if they've never heard of him? And how can they hear about him unless someone tells them? If you are a follower of Jesus, the only person that we are meant to prop up is not ourselves. We're meant to prop up the one who denied himself. That's who we promote. These guys made fasting all about self-promotion. But at its core, fasting is about self-denial. And self-denial is at the core of what Jesus is calling you to. Jesus said this in Luke 9. He says, if anyone would come after me, and this is a line in the sand verse, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, not promote, not make much of, not lift himself up. Let him deny himself or herself, take up his cross daily. That means die to yourself daily. Take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake, he'll save it. Jesus is calling us to something. First of all, he's not calling us to anything that he didn't do himself first. He will never call you to something that he hasn't modeled. He denied himself. Everything around you says promote, promote, promote. But what Jesus calls you to and what he modeled himself is deny, deny, deny. Self-denial creates a deep connection and dependence on God. Self-denial is a far better and far more fulfilling way to live than self-promotion is. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, and that's definitely countercultural. When you think about self-denial, that feels like you're losing something, right? Self-promoting at least feels like there's a chance I can gain something. But it's actually the exact opposite. Anyone who will save his life, anyone who wants to save his life, make much of himself, self-promote, indulge, you're going to lose. But anyone who would lose his life, self-denial, humble yourself, serve and sacrifice, that's how you win. That's how you gain. This is the invitation to live differently. Self-denial is a far better way to live than self-promotion or self-indulgence is. So the question I'm asking myself all week is, are there places where I'm trying to promote myself? Like in conversations. Am I trying to, in a conversation I'm in, am I trying to discreetly drop my resume? Or am I trying to talk about something that I've done so other people would know about it and be impressed with me? I am guilty of this one big time. There's times I do this and I don't even realize it until after the fact. And I don't know if that's because I'm trying to cover up for some insecurity, or I don't trust that being seen by God is enough. Man, I'll do that a lot. Honestly, that's a temptation for me every week in the lobby when I talk to you. Because I've told you this before. I want you to think well of me too much. So then the temptation for me out there is, let me drop this in a conversation so that you think, wow, Matt's impressive. And here's what I hate about it. I've gotten good at it. Is that where I'm trying to self-promote? Or am I trying to draw attention to something that I'm doing so people will see me? Or here's an easy one to look at, social media. Am I trying to promote myself with social media? That's the easiest place in the world to be an actor, to put a facade on for your life. Man, I've tried to have this discipline for myself, like guidelines where I'm only going to promote something that I think will be an encouragement to somebody else or funny. I'll take humor all day long. Funny or encouragement. But there's times where after I post something, oh, that was about me. So now I got to check my motives. Am I trying to self-promote myself? Ask yourself the same question. Are there places right now where you are trying to lift yourself up and be promoted so that you're seen? Are you not willing to accept Jesus' invitation to live differently? To practice self-denial instead of self-promotion? And if you're not willing to accept his invitation, why? Is there something deeper going on? I mean, we all screw this up at times. We all do. And we all are going to face the tension, at the very least, to self-promote and make this life about ourselves. So we're all going to wrestle with that temptation. Why is that? Like, why do we do that? Why do we make it about ourselves? Is it because we don't trust God? I don't trust him with what he says. I don't trust the promises that he says. Oh, there's rewards coming? It feels like a gamble to wait on that. Do we not trust him? Maybe it's because we've never really experienced his goodness. We've not leaned into him to experience his goodness. Or maybe is the reason why we're just conforming to the pattern of this world, doing the exact opposite of Romans 12, 1 and 2. If you don't know those two verses, go read them later today. Maybe we're doing that, the exact opposite of what Romans 12 says. Or are we doing this because we have bought into this lie that you have to be seen and noticed by other people or you don't matter? Have we bought into that lie? Where I need to be approved, that if I'm not seen, I'll be forgotten, or nobody will even know I exist. I don't have any value unless I'm seen. Have we bought into that? Is that why we don't trust him in this? Or maybe it's because self-promotion is a whole lot easier than self-denial. It is. Like, it's so much easier to promote yourself, to try to lift yourself up than it is to deny yourself. That's a lot easier. Or is it because we're willing to settle for cheap rewards like the Pharisees did, like the hypocrites did, instead of trusting the rewards that God has? Or is it because we're addicted to the approval of other people? Galatians 1:10 says this, am I now seeking the approval of man or of God? Or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. It's one or the other. Self-promotion will get you that approval, or at least hopefully can get you that approval. But 2 Corinthians 18 says this, for it is not the one who commends himself, lifts himself up. It's not the one who commends himself who is approved, the one making sure people see him or her when they fast, but it's the one who the Lord condemns. Who does the Lord commend? But when you give to someone in need, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. But when you pray, go into your room, shut the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret. But when you fast, comb your hair, wash your face. Look good. Then no one will notice that you are fasting except your Father who knows what you do in secret. That's who God commends. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. 1 Peter 5:6 says, humble yourself under the mighty power of God, and at the right time, he will lift you up and honor you. He will exalt you. So when you follow Jesus' lead right here to deny yourself, when you pick up your cross daily and die to yourself, when you practice self-denial instead of self-promotion, when you're not trying to lift yourself up, God says, I see you. Now I'm going to lift you up. Now's the right time. Now's the time for me to honor you. Now's the time for me to exalt you. Now is the time. But if you're trying to lift yourself up, God's like, what do you need me for? Apparently you got it. Go ahead. And if you're the one that has to lift yourself up, it's a scary proposition, is it not? if your purpose and your focus is to please God and glorify Him, you will never have to worry about being seen, and you will never have to worry about being forgotten. God will never forget you. He will always see you. In fact, let me get super practical real quick. Forget yourself. Learn how to forget yourself. Again, completely counterintuitive. The world would say, no, that's actually oppressive to forget yourself. No, forget yourself. Here's the paradox. If you forget yourself, you won't ever be worried about being forgotten. Never, because you know that you're not. And don't fall into this trap that you have to be seen to matter, that you have to be impressive to have value, that you have to have the approval of others or you cannot function. Don't fall into that trap. Man, Jesus is saying that is self-slavery. It is. In fact, the people who are most free are the ones who aren't worried about being seen. The type of hiddenness that Jesus is talking about, the freedom that he's talking about in the Sermon on the Mount, this type of hiddenness is freedom from this need to be noticed and seen by other people. Instead, it replaces it with a deep connection with God. Going back to which audience do you want first, God or people? And I want God first. My heart, my flesh will fight for people at times. That's why I got to war against this. But this hiddenness that Jesus is talking about, it's also freedom from the addiction to praise. From other people to you. That can be a narcotic that will drive you if you let it. The hiddenness that Jesus is talking about is freedom from the hamster wheel of approval. If you have to have the approval of other people, you will never have enough. You will need more and more and more and more, and without even realizing it, you are running on a hamster wheel that will never stop. And the type of freedom that Jesus is talking about with this hiddenness, it's freedom from the self-inflicted discouragement of comparison. If you have to be seen, then naturally you're going to compare yourself to other people. Well, I'm not seen as much as she is, or I'm not seen as much as he is. Then you start comparing. Comparing does nothing good for you. It will not help you get better. The only thing that comparison is self-inflicted discouragement. Being hidden frees you from self-inflicted discouragement. And one way you can tell whether or not you are free from something is if you're willing to part from it. Are you willing to part from the need to be seen and noticed? Are you willing to part from getting the approval from other people for whatever? Are you willing to part from being praised by others? Are you willing to part from comparing yourself to other people? And are you willing to respond to Jesus' invitation to live differently? Jesus' invitation to live differently is the starting point for freedom. His invitation leads to so much freedom. His invitation leads you to being seen by the one who actually matters. His invitation leads to rewards that we could not possibly imagine. Self-denial is a far better way to live than self-promotion and self-indulgences. Self-denial leads to freedom. Self-denial is an incredibly underrated gift. So maybe now's the time to respond to his invitation. Actually, as soon as we start worshiping, there's going to be people that come forward up here. There's going to be a team that would love to pray with you. If you want to respond to his invitation, if you want to ask questions about anything, if you want prayer over anything, we'll have people down here that would love to pray over you. So as soon as we start worshiping, come down forward, come talk to them. Come get prayer, come respond. Let us walk with you, because we don't do this alone, we walk together. So actually, I'm going to ask you to stand right now. I'm going to ask that team to come forward. I'm going to pray for us, and then we're going to start worshiping. So go ahead and stand with me. Jesus, we thank you for denying yourself so that we could have a chance at life, that you would leave the throne, put on human flesh, live in this mess, live a perfect life so we could have your righteousness and faith, and then die for us so that our sin would be paid for. And then on Friday, you're gonna die in that way, but on Sunday, you rise from the dead, proving that you are God. Thank you for that. Would you give us a taste of your goodness this week, Jesus? Would you let us know that, hey, self-denial really is so much better than trying to prop ourselves up or indulge ourselves or make life about us, that that's empty and it's slavery, but show us what real freedom is. Thank you for modeling it, Jesus, that you're not just telling us to do it, you did it first. We love you. It's in your precious name we pray. Amen.